I was so afraid of judgment. I was so afraid of going back on my word. I was so afraid of being out of alignment with my brand and who I am and all this kind of stuff. And what I remembered was that blog post. And I remembered, don't get married to these ideas, Caro. Be married to your principles. Yes, be married to your principles.
Listen up, people. That's right. It's time to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life. I'm your host and life coach, Caroline de Posada from Miami, Florida. And this podcast is an invitation to join me in upgrading our mindset, wellness, and relationships so that together we create a life that unlocks our bliss. Join me each week as we explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the moments of clarity, or as we like to call them, los momenticos, that make the world a little more magical. Consider this your weekly dose of wisdom in your pocket. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Hey, listener. Welcome to episode number 89 of Listen Up. So today I'm going to share a personal story with you that I wasn't sure if I should keep private or share publicly here on the podcast. And I decided that I would share publicly because even though I recognize that I get to discern what I keep private and what I share publicly on this in this space, I also value deeply being the kind of person who shares vulnerably, honestly, transparently, authentically with you because I hope that it gives you permission to grow and change and evolve, permission to be human, permission to be imperfect, make a mistake, acknowledge a mistake, or recognize that maybe you had a mistake in thinking before. You get to have permission for any of the above. And I am sharing a journey that I've had where I'm giving myself permission to explore something that I had not explored before, and make a change that I never thought I'd see coming and sit in it. And I'm still on the fence as to whether it was the right decision or the wrong decision, but I've made the decision. So I wanted to share it with you. And the decision is that last week I got Botox. Yes, I did. Right here. I got Botox. I don't know if you could see it yet because I think it takes some days to kick in. But I did Botox on my forehead last week. And in order for you to understand why this is such a big deal for me, I think you need to understand some background and context. So I live in Miami, which is a place where people do a lot of things to their face and they do a lot of things to their bodies. And it's a place where cosmetic surgeries and cosmetic procedures are very, very popular. And for many years, I have not wanted to participate in any of that because I have wanted to really maintain a life of wellness. I've always been afraid of putting anything toxic in my body. I've been afraid of changing my face. I don't want to change my face. I like my face the way that it is. So I've been afraid of like making changes that would permanently affect my face. And I have just wanted to be able to age gracefully, and I've wanted to care. I personally have wanted to care more about doing the inner work, exercise, eat well, meditate, live a holistic life than do cosmetic things to make me look good. I've always wanted to look good, radiating from the inside out and not worry so much about the outside. So that's been my belief for a long time. And I will also say that when I was coming into 2026, I named January Adjustment January because I wanted to make certain adjustments in my life that I felt were necessary. I wanted to adjust some of my eating habits, adjust certain things in my business, adjust some of my workouts. I was ready to step into a new year, and nowhere in my what's in or what's out, in my resolutions, in my adjustments, did Botox fall into the picture. I had not even considered it. It wasn't at all a part of my narrative. But I have a dear friend of mine who has always been on the no Botox bandwagon with me. And she and I have, for many years, all of our friends have Botox and they have been doing it forever. And she and I have always been like the last two standing friends in this particular group that haven't done it. We've always said if we ever did it, we would do it together. And our joke has always been like, it's not that we're opposed to doing Botox. It's just that we have an overinflated self-esteem. So we feel like we look so good that we don't need it. So that's why we haven't done it. We've always joked about that. And we always said that we were going to do it together. But like if we ever did it, but I was never going to do it. And I was pretty attached to that narrative. And then last week, I got a message from my dermatologist, Kristen Haushalter, who's the best dermatologist in Miami. I love her very much. And this friend of mine, in that message, it said, hey, you, Caro, and Nick have an appointment at 8:45 on Monday morning at my office. And I didn't have an appointment to go to her office. So, of course, I called, like, what do you mean I have an appointment to go to your office? And she said, yes, because you and Nicole are finally going to take the plunge and you guys are going to do Botox. I'm like, no, we're not. What are you talking about? She's like, listen, I think that you guys need to do it. Uh, it's time. She, they gave, she gave me her reasons for why I should do it. And she said, this is temporary. She explained the science behind it. She told me all the reasons why it wasn't harmful to me. She told me how long it's been used. She told me the research behind it. She told me it's used in children. She just gave me all of this information. And she was like, I don't think that this is as big a deal as you make it. And it is a temporary solution, but I think that it would benefit you to do it on your forehead because you have wrinkled significantly in the last few years. And I think you get to correct that a little bit. And I want to give you the opportunity to try it. And if you don't like it, you never have to do it again. You can forget it ever happened, but just try it. So she planted that seed in my head. And my friend Nicole, who was going to do it, said, listen, we've always said that we're ride or die. Like we either do this together or we don't do it together. And I'm going to go and do it. So you need to come with me. Whether you do it or not, you need to be by my side. And when she said this to me, I was like, listen, I'm not going to do it. I'll go with you. But it's kind of like, we're going to go together to the tattoo parlor. You're going to go first. You get the tattoo. And you have to understand, I'm more than likely going to back out and not get the tattoo. And then my friend Kristen was like, but it's not a tattoo. It is not permanent. You can try this and see if you like it. So I started debating whether I should do it or not because this context happened, an adjustment I wasn't planning to make. And I talked to my kids about it. I talked to my husband about it. And my whole family was like, absolutely not. You do not need to do this. And they were even like, this isn't even part of your brand. Like, this isn't even an alignment with who you are. You're organic and wellness and natural. And, you've never done anything. I don't dye my hair. I don't do anything to change my appearance. So they were like, this doesn't feel like it's on brand. And a part of me felt that was true. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. And then there's another little part of me. And that little part of me was like, you have gotten a lot of wrinkles in your forehead. And if this isn't that bad, could it help stop the speed of wrinkles that you're getting on your forehead without being super harmful to you? And would you look a little better if you tried just a little bit without going overboard and just doing a little bit? Would you look better? And is it okay to want to look better? Is it okay that you kind of curious about it, that you would like to try it and see how it makes you feel, even if you decide not to do it going forward? So I had these two conflicting thoughts. And I was like, which one do I choose? Do I stand behind what I've always said because I've always said it? Or do I feed this curiosity because I am curious and I want to know what, like, which one would serve me best? And it was a really hard decision for me to make because I want to be the kind of person that is always in integrity and in alignment and on the path that I set out to be on. And then the question became, does this move me out of alignment? Does it feel off path? Or is it okay? And I honestly didn't know the answer to that. So I sat with it and I thought about it for a long time. And while I was on my way to the doctor's office on Monday morning, my husband called and he said, "You know what, Caro, I just want to tell you this. I don't think you need to do this. I think you look beautiful as you are, and I love you as you are. And I also think you're human. And if you want to do something that makes you feel good and that makes you look better in your eyes, you get to be human. And I don't feel that you have to be so hard on yourself just because you want to be a person who is organic and wholesome and all natural and all that kind of stuff." And I really appreciated that he said that because I wasn't sure which way to go with the decision. So I arrived and Nicole and I went in and it was very exciting and very dramatic. And, she sat on the table and then I talked to Kristen about it a million times again. And she reassured me all these things. And a part of me felt like, I don't think I'm doing anything to harm myself. And I also don't want in 5 or 10 years to wish that I would have tried it and regret not having have tried it. So maybe this is something that I get to explore. So I tried it. And then right after I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it, and um and then a little part of me felt like maybe I shouldn't tell anybody that I did it, because if I tell people, then what are they going to think of me? And then, not because, by the way, let me make this abundantly clear, not what are they going to think of me because I did Botox. No, what are they going to think of me because I said I wouldn't do Botox and now I have done it, which I think is what's important for you to understand. Oftentimes, we say we're not going to do something, or we say we think a certain way, and it is really hard to admit that maybe we have changed our minds. And rather than admitting it, we hide behind our own truth. We pretend that we are a certain way when we're not. We lie about who we are or what choices we've made, not because we think that what we did was wrong, but because we're so afraid of people thinking that we have changed our minds. My father wrote a little book called the Mini Motivational Book. And I love this little book. I give it out to people all the time. It has a beautiful energy, this book. Oh, and one of the things that I do with this book is I always say, pick a number from 1 to 31. If I ever run into you in person and I do this to you, you'll know. Say, pick a number from 1 to 31 And that's the message that I have for you today. And I'm not going to tell you what page this is on in case you pick it when I see you in person. But this page says, rather than acknowledge a mistake, nations have gone to war, families have separated, and individuals have sacrificed everything dear to them. Admitting that you have been wrong is just another way of saying you are wiser today than yesterday. So I wanted to share this with you because I don't want to be the kind of person that cannot admit that I have changed my mind about something, or cannot admit that I was wrong about something, or that I've made a mistake. I want to be the kind of person that has the strength to change in public, that has the strength to change her mind in public, and that has the strength to do something different and be okay with it. In 2014, I wrote a blog post. If you've been with me since then, you know that I had a blog called Pile on the Greens. And I'll put the post on the show notes. But it's, to date, my favorite blog title that I've ever had was this one. And it was a New Year's Eve post. And it was called Don't Get Married in 2014. And the reason that I wrote that blog post was because I had noticed at that time that when I dove into a healthy lifestyle, I very much got married to the ideas that I was learning. I very much got married to eating healthy, and the more I married those ideas, the stricter I got, the more judgmental I got, the more constrained I got. And one day, in conversation with my dear friend and Dr. Sanchez, who had taught me so much about eating healthy, I noticed that he wasn't nearly as judgmental or strict as I was. And I remember, asking him about it. And he said, well, we just can't take this stuff too seriously because we're always learning, we're always evolving. And sometimes it's not healthy or good to be too rigid or too strict. It's actually, we want to keep an open mind and laugh about things and take things lightly, and yes, continue to learn, but also realize that this is a never-ending process, that there is a lot to learn, and that what may be true today might not be true tomorrow. So we just can't take anything, we can't be too rigid on any one thing. And I wrote that blog post for that reason back then. And when this happened this week, that I was presented with this opportunity to try something that I said I would never have, that I was never going to do before, I was so afraid of judgment. I was so afraid of going back on my word. I was so afraid of being out of alignment with my brand and who I am, and all this kind of stuff. And what I remembered was that blog post. And I remembered, don't get married to these ideas, Caro. Be married to your principles. Yes, be married to your principles, but don't get married to ideas like this, because we are always learning, and we are always changing, and we are always growing. And there is an opportunity to try something new and decide if it's the right path or not the right path for you. And, I had a conversation with a dear friend of mine the other day about whether this decision put me out of alignment with who I am. And her argument was that it did not put me out of alignment. And she gave me a bunch of reasons why it didn't. And then, my husband thought it did put me out of alignment. And he gave me reasons why he thought it would put me out of alignment. And both were good arguments. They were both true. And I guess I just had to decide which argument I was going to go for. And I was like, I could see this either way. Ultimately, what I decided was, I'm not sure if this is in alignment. I'm not sure if this is something I want to do long term. I'm not sure if this is a good fit for me. I'm on the fence still to this very day. I already did it and I'm still on the fence as to whether this is something that I'm going to continue doing or not doing. But I also wanted to experiment with it because what I didn't want was for 10 years to pass and me wonder what would have been had I tried it. And if I really thought that it would be dangerous or toxic for me or that it would cause any harm, I would not do it. Um, I think I'm pretty committed to that. But based on what I understand and what I know, it is not harmful to me enough to warrant me not giving it a try. So I tried it. I'm on the fence as to whether I'm going to continue. We'll see. I will keep you posted. But the most important part of this for me has been stepping into the identity of a person who chooses to be transparent, honest, and authentic about a choice she made, even if it's different than what she stood for yesterday. I want to be the kind of person who can change. I want to be the kind of person who gives you permission to change. And I want you to be the kind of person who doesn't get married to any one idea. Just because something has been a certain way up until now doesn't mean it has to be that way forever. And just because something changed doesn't mean it can't change back. This life is fluid and it's ever changing. The more that we change, the more that we grow. So that's my little confession of 2026. Not the adjustment I thought I was going to make this month. And yet, I think it's a very powerful adjustment because of what it's made me face. I hope that this has served you well today. I hope that if you have been hiding a truth or a change or a decision that you've made because you're afraid of being judged, being afraid of being looked at differently, afraid of being called out on have changed your mind, I hope that today serves you and that you get to be who you are today unapologetically. And if that is the biggest adjustment you make in 2026, it might be the most important one. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you cannot admit a change you've made, is that a change worth making? And if the change was worth making and in alignment with who you are, then will you have the courage to change out loud? That's a decision only you can make. But I hope that it serves you and gives you the power to do you in 2026 and do it bravely, boldly, and loudly. I hope you have a beautiful Sacred Sunday, and I will see you next week. That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful to connect. If you're loving this podcast, I'd love if you'd follow, rate, or leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so, so much. And if you know of someone who could really use a voice like mine in their head, please share this episode with them. Now, if you're feeling called to keep the conversation going, come join us inside the Bliss and Up community on Facebook. It is a free space to reflect and root into intention together. You can find the link in the show notes or just search Bliss and Up with Caroline de Posada on Facebook. I'd love to welcome you in. Until next time, take care and keep noticing the sparks of bliss in your life.